I sat staring at a white screen. This white screen was staring back at me, and perhaps what was worse on this white screen was the black cursor. The black cursor that just blinks and blinks and blinks. And I stared at it, and the longer I stared at it, the more it sounded like a metronome going and going, and it was like I could hear it, and it was taunting me. And I just sat there and thought, why can't I put a single word? I can't type. I can't write. And it just blinked. It's like Edgar Allan Poe's Telltale Heart, where he's the only one that hears the heartbeat, and I'm the only one that hears the cursor beat. So after like 30 minutes of staring at the screen, I force a word. Surprise. Lex, why can't you write? Why can't you think of a story? You always have so much to say. You have so many words. You always have a story to tell for everything. Anyone that knows you always have something to say. Your kids always remind you of this all the time. And yet, you can't write a single word, just surprise? So I stare. Okay. Go back. Exclamation mark. Surprise. Maybe that will make me think of a really exciting story to tell. And no, I still sat there. Okay, what about that time? What about that time it was really dark and you could smell your dad's cologne and you knew that your dad was leaving and you were your daddy's little girl. You loved him, and everyone that knew you and him knew you guys went everywhere together. But you missed him because he was always gone. So you climbed out of bed in your silky Little Mermaid nightgown, and you carefully, quietly snuck out of your room to not wake up your brothers. And then against the wall, you listened at your parents' conversation to make sure your dad was actually leaving, because the smell of his cologne was always the sign that dad was leaving. And you slid your back across the wall down the hallway, and you made your way into the living room where the yellow light illuminated the room with a golden hue. And you could still hear them talking, so you knew they weren't paying attention. Until you made it to the front door, you opened it, and you didn't close it all the way because you knew and you worried that the latch would startle someone and your plan would be disrupted. And you're barefoot and you walk down the steps and you make your way to your dad's convertible Dodge Dart, the Batman car. I open the door and she climbs into the back seat and she hides on the floor, curled up in a little ball like a 4-year-old does really, really well. And I start holding in my giggles because I was so excited. And I knew when my dad pulled the car, I knew the length of the driveway. So I waited. And it's pitch black. And I waited until I heard the door open and it closed in the shift of the weight as my dad sat down, and I felt the car go in reverse the length of the driveway until it made its turn onto the road of 1400 North, and I knew he was going to head west. And there was a yellow blinking light that I knew my dad was going to stop at on 10th West, and that would be my moment. And so when the car stopped at the yellow light, I stood up like a 4-year-old can in a car and shouted, "Boo!" My dad, with his hands on the steering wheel, turned around and looked at me, and I'd never seen his face so scared before, and he screamed, and then I screamed, and I thought this was supposed to be funny, not scary. And then my dad kind of freaked out. "Lex, no, get down and hide. I can't turn around and take you home right now because I got to go meet some drug dealers right now, and they are really mean, and they don't like it when a kid is in the car, and they will freak out, and I could get killed, so you got to be really, really quiet and hide." So I did. I got down, and he threw a wool blanket on me, and I felt these Latino men get in, and they were yelling in Spanish. I didn't understand it because I didn't quite learn Spanish yet, but I knew everybody was angry, and I held my breath the whole time. "Oh, Lex, that's such a dumb story. Erase. There's nothing to say with that story. Erase, backspace, backspace, backspace." Okay. What about that time in kindergarten when you're so excited because you're going to have a water party and you're so excited to tell your parents this, you work so hard and you go get in the station wagon, and as soon as you get your seatbelt on and you're ready to tell them, your dad turns around and says, "Hey, Lex, we're moving to Mexico tomorrow." What? Where is Mexico? I mean, I knew it was there. I didn't even get to say bye to my friends. Okay, that's a dumb surprise. Lex, think harder at a funny surprise. Why are all your stories always heavy? So I backspace. Okay, that one time when, 8th grade, when I didn't know what kind of science project to tell or to do or anything, and I knew I had to get my grades up, so I thought it'd be really easy, and so I did. I taught a magpie, or we happened to have a pet magpie. Yeah, that's kind of random, but kind of true. And I actually taught this magpie how to talk. And then I ended up at the state fair. I wasn't expecting that. I just wanted a passing grade. That's dumb. I realized as I was trying to find the story, I couldn't figure out how to write this story because there's one thing when you're writing and one thing when you're trying to tell a story. You can't really have a voice. You can't really tell the story until you know who your target reader is, who your target listener is. And I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't figure it out. There were too many. Until I realized, I think this was me. I think I was supposed to be the target listener. Lex, what was your most surprising moment? Oh, that's easy. It was like 2 years ago, almost. I was sitting in a room, a room full of men, and I'm the only woman. And I'm crying and shaking and scared as I think everything that I worked so hard for was crumbling. And I didn't know how I was going to pick up the pieces. And I thought this was the end. This meant everything was over, and I didn't know how to figure it out. And I knew it was coming, and I didn't know how to pick up the pieces. And then they turned the time over to me, and they said, "What are your thoughts?" That was one of the most surprising moments, because it was that moment that I gave one of the most powerful messages for myself in this room full of men. And all I remember that I said was, I will no longer be a pawn in a man's game of chess. This whole time I thought I was a pawn, when really I was just the queen, who has the most moves and who actually protects the king. And I will no longer play like a pawn. It was that moment that I realized I broke the chains of chasing someone else's dreams and helping their dreams come true, of supporting a career, of supporting someone else's education and doing everything for everyone else and never for me. That was the most surprising moment, because it was at that moment that I started to fight for my dreams and fight for the dreams of my little nest and help support my nest and protect my nest and support them so they could chase their dreams. And that was the biggest surprise. I had to sit down and grab my paper because there's a lot of notes and I don't remember everything. So, welcome to Light Switch Stories. We're so excited you guys could all come here tonight. Thank you. Here at Light Switch, we believe everybody has a story to tell. We believe stories are the connecting threads that build us all together, that take down walls and show us that we all have experiences that are similar and different, but we all have the same common threads, and that is emotions and humanity. And we believe that is shared in storytelling. We're super excited for our storytellers, but before I get to introduce the storytellers, I have to introduce our amazing board here, and I'm not going to mess up this time because last time I messed up. Ryan Lenhart is the founder. Ryan, will you stand up? Where is Ryan? Alexis, Lexi Escobar. I'm the artistic creator. And then Micah Coombs. I know he's in here somewhere. Micah Coombs is the head story creator. Cindy Ford, executive director. Tracy Munson, Public Head, and Kyra Dark, Marketing Director. Don't forget to enter the raffle. There's a cleaning raffle that you get some free cleaning service with. And if you go to the program at the bottom, there is a spot for you to join our email list. And if you join that email list before the night ends, you will be entered in for a $200 or purple pillow. So it's kind of a nice gift or prize. Anyways, we're going to announce the winner at the end of the Q&A. We're going to have a Q&A after all the storytellers. So think of things while people are telling their stories that you want to know more of. And then you'll have the opportunity to ask our amazing storytellers some questions. So we're going to start in this order. Jared. Okay, will you please raise your hand so the audience can know who you are? Jared Filligan. Alex Stark. Ben Gotchberg. Carrie Johnson, Sarah McKenna, LeVar Lenhart, and Lee Woodley. The light is now yours.